everyone, welcome to Accounting with Miss G. And today we're going to be looking at the CRJ, CPJ, DJ, and CJ combination. So it's important to know what each of these journals does. So the cash receipts journal is when the business receives money now from a business or from a customer. Cash payments journal is when a business pays money now to another business, usually via EFT. A DJ is a debtors journal. This is when a customer comes into the business and buys on account. And that would be an invoice that we would give the customer to say, listen, this is what you've purchased, and so we're going to record it on your account. This is how much you owe us. And then the CJ is a creditors journal when a business buys from another business on account. So let's say, for example, your school tuck shop buys from Coca-Cola on account. That will then be recorded in your school tuck shop's CJ. Alright, they've now given you a list of the debtors balances. In other words, these three customers, L. Cedras, F. Brown, and J. LeKay, all owe this amount of money to the business. The list of creditors balance, these are the three businesses, or creditors as we would call them, that our business that we're working with owes money to. So Majesty Limited, Glass Suppliers, and Ace Wholesalers. The business that we're looking at today specifically is for a place called Sunshine Glass Traders, and we're doing it for the month of November 2022. They have asked you to open the accounts with the given balances or totals in the general ledger of Sunshine Glass Traders, and then you are going to do a cash receipts, cash payments, debtors, and creditors journal. Okay, so we are not going to do the general ledger now. We will do that in another video, but for now we're just going to do the CRJ and CPJ, DJ and CJ. So it's important to know what each of these things does. So I'm going to use different colors. Your cash receipts journal is when the business receives money now from either a service, rent income, interest income, commission income, anything like that. Cash payments journal is when a business pays now. So for rent expense, they buy trading stock, buy consumables. There's like a large variety of things. Debtors journal is when a customer buys from the business on account, or what they'll usually say is on credit. So we're looking for the words credit or invoice or on account. And then your creditors journal, lastly, is when the business buys an account from another business. And that also would say something along the lines of a buying on credit or invoice or on account. Just remember, the name of the business we're dealing with is Sunshine Glass Traders. Okay, so I'm going to go through each of them. Pay careful attention to the fact that Sunshine Glass Traders sells their merchandise, or their trading stock, at a markup of 40%. You're going to need that when entering it into the CRJ. Okay, so first one. The owner, Jane Aker, increased the capital contribution by 15,000 Rand, paid directly into the business bank. So by telling me that the business is receiving money, they're receiving it from the owner, 15,000 Rand for capital. And because it says directly, we know that's going to be by EFT, so it's a bank statement. So just highlight the keywords throughout so that you know what you are dealing with. Okay, next one. You paid NMB Council for Water and Electricity, 310 by EFT. So because you've paid, and you've paid now because it's EFT, Water and Electricity 310, it's a CPJ. Next one, you bought materials from glass suppliers for 9,700 Rand less 10% trade discount. You paid via EFT. So you've bought materials from glass suppliers via EFT, so it's a CPJ, but they have received a discount. So what you're going to need to work out is how much it was that they actually paid. So it's 9,700 times by your discount, which is going to give you 970 Rand. So how much they actually pay is 9,700 minus 970 is going to give me 8730. That's the amount that is actually being paid to glass suppliers. So sometimes what happens is if a business pays in cash, they might get a discount. Okay, you receive merchandise on credit. Okay, so we know we're dealing with DJ or CJ. On credit from Ace Wholesalers, goods invoiced at 8,000 Rand. So if you've received merchandise from someone, means you must have bought it on account. So you've received merchandise, 8,000, and an invoice has been issued. Okay. You purchase stationery on account from Paper and Co. Same thing happens. You've purchased something from a business on account. The name Sunshine Glass Traders has purchased from Paper and Co. They've purchased stationery. Because it says on account, that's the giveaway over there. And it is also going to be an invoice, because whenever anyone buys on account, an invoice is issued. You drew cash to pay for wages, 4,600. So by drawing cash out means you're taking cash out of the ATM to pay for wages. When we get to that, I'll explain to you how to enter it in. You received 4,600 Rand from London agents for rent of part of a building, issued receipt. So that one is a CRJ. You've received money from London agents for rent of part of a building, okay, and you've issued a receipt. So during your exams or during tests and stuff like that, it's always useful to have some highlighters to then highlight what the keywords are and then to identify which journal it belongs in. Okay, cash sales of merchandise according to the cash register roll, 8,700 Rand. So cash sales means that they have made money. So sales of merchandise, cash register roll is like a till slip, and 8,700. So those are the keywords there. You bought a computer on credit. So because you've purchased a computer on credit from Ace Wholesalers, we are looking at the CJ, because you've purchased from this business on account or on credit, and you've purchased a computer. You sold goods on account to El Cedras, 2,000 Rand. We know El Cedras is actually a debtor, but also we know that they're selling something to someone on account, which means they're selling it to a debtor, and so therefore it has to be a debtor's journal. So you sold goods, so that's a sale. El Cedras and 2,000. You received trading stock bought on credit to the value of 3,510 Rand from Majesty Limited. So if you're receiving trading stock, yeah, the word stock should be there, my bad, of 3,510 Rand from Majesty Limited. So that is going to be a CJ. You paid glass suppliers in settlement of account to date via EFT. So because it says that you've paid that amount via EFT, it's a CPJ. And in settlement of account, we're going to have to work this out. What this essentially means is that they're paying their account in full so that they owe zero money. Cash sales of merchandise, 3,200. So you have sold something. Cash sales of merchandise for 3,200. If it's a cash sales, it's going to be a CRR. It's not a receipt, because a receipt is when it's like not really related to the business. So if they're receiving cash for rent income, then it could be a receipt. Depends on, unless it's an EFT. But because the primary thing that the business does is they make sales by selling, I assume, glass, then it's going to be a CRR, a till slip. On the 10th, the owner paid Melba Garage for repairs of his own vehicle, 380 Rand via EFT. So they have paid this place, it's EFT, so it's CPJ, 380. Now be careful when it says repairs to his own vehicle. People are tempted to write repairs. If you see anything about the own or the owners, we call it drawings. Okay, so the owner's taken something out for themselves. You sold goods on credit to J. Lakay for 1,320 Rand. So there we are looking at it being a debtor's journal because the debtor has purchased something on account, bought goods of 1,320 Rand. You paid F. De Beer, the manager, his salary for November, 7,100 via EFT. So because it's an EFT payment, it's going to be CPJ, salary to F. De Beer of 7,100. Next we're looking at is L. Cedras paid 1,500 Rand towards his account he paid via EFT. So L. Cedras is a debtor. Now the debtor eventually has to pay their account. I mean, they can't just keep buying and buying and buying on account without ever paying it back, because the business needs to be able to operate. So when El Cedras pays the business, if you think about it this way, here's the business. I know my artwork is beautiful. And this is El Cedras. When he is paying the business is receiving 1,500 Rand via EFT. You sold goods on credit to F. Brown for 300 Rand. So F. Brown is buying something from the business, so he's becoming a debtor because it's on credit. You sold goods. You received 4,100 Rand for merchandise sold for cash. So you're receiving 4,100 Rand. Selling merchandise is going to be a sales. Another name for merchandise is trading stock. So if you're selling trading stock, it essentially means that you are making a sale. So if you receive that amount of money, it's going to be a CRJ. And lastly, you bought 564 Rands worth of consumables from Adam's warehouse on account. So you as the business bought from another business on account. So that is going to be a creditor's journal, and you've purchased consumables. Okay, so even though it feels like it takes quite a while, it's best to actually go through each of them carefully, look at the keywords, try and identify where they belong, and then you go and enter them in to the CRJ. So what I like to do is I enter in all the CRJs, then the CPJs, and so on and so forth. It just makes things a bit more manageable, and then you can always tick them off at the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this exercise as a link on the video, so you're welcome to then download it and practice it yourself, and then just if you're not sure, try to do it by yourself first, and then see if there's anything else that you don't understand that maybe can be helped in this video. Okay, so now that we've done all of this, it needs to all go into our journals. So these are your different types of journals. You get the cash receipts and cash payments journal, and you get your debtors and your creditors journal. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to do the cash receipts journal first. Just easier to do all of those transactions instead of jumping around. So let's have a look at that carefully. Let me zoom in a little bit for you. Alright. So the first transaction we're looking at is, it says here, the owner, J. Naker, increased the capital contribution by 15,000 Rand paid directly into the business bank account. So the first step is they want to know what is the document. So with the CRJ, there's kind of only three options. So it either could be receipt, or it could be bank statement, or it could be CRR. Right. When looking through it, analysis of receipts is like the till. So if it's a bank statement, the amount cannot go into your analysis of receipts because technically it's just gone through the internet. So someone's paid you via EFT. Okay. Sales and cost of sales are best buds. So if something goes into the sales amount, you have to fill in the cost of sales amount. And I'll show you the formula to do that. And then debtors control is when now your debtor pays the business. So in other words, the business is finally receiving money from your debtor. And then finally, your sundry section is for anything else that you might have received money for that isn't sales or debtors control. So maybe you received money for rent income or commission income, or interest on your current account. That would go into sundry. It doesn't have its own column. Okay, so if we're entering in J. Naker, who is the business owner, it says directly, which means that it's going to be a BS. The date is the, okay, this zoom in is not working for me. There we go. The date is the 1st. Details is who did you receive money from? So J. Naker. And that 15,000 Rand cannot go into analysis of receipts because it's a BS. So it goes then straight into bank. Was it for sales, debtors control, or something else? It was for something else. And that something else was capital. Alright. Next one. The next green one. On the 3rd, you received 4,600 Rand from London agents for rent of part of a building. Issued a receipt. So it's going to be REC. And the date is the 3rd. Who do we pay? London agents. Can I put it into the till? Yes, because it's a receipt. I mean, it's called analysis of receipts, so receipts definitely go there. And it's 4,600. Can I put it into bank? Let's look. Before you put it straight into bank, look and see if there's another CRJ on that day that's going to go into the till. Because logically, if you're a business, not every single time you receive money are you going to run to the bank and deposit it. That would just take far too much time. So what they do is at the end of the day they bank it. So because there's another cash transaction, so either a receipt or a CRR on that day, and this was a receipt, just look at the next transaction before you jump into putting it into bank, because you're going to bank it up together. So I'll show you how to do that. So it's 4,600 for rent of a building. So it's not for sales, it's not for debtors control, it is for rent, and you must be specific, please. Rent income. Police cars outside, lots of action happening here. Okay, cash sales of merchandise according to CRR 8,700. So it's a cash sales. Cash would tell me it's a cash register roll. So CRR. You can number it. 01 is the first one, but you can just leave it like that. CRR number 3, and it was for sales. Please, you don't have to write cash sales because we know it's from the cash receipts journal. So sales is the correct way to write it. It was 8,700 Rand. Now, are there any other transactions on that day? No. The next one's on the 5th. So I must add up my two bank amounts. 133,000, 133,000, and we bank it together. When banking something after a day, so usually if it's more than two amounts, if it's more than one amount, so if it's two or more amounts, you're going to draw a dark line underneath it to say, okay, I'm closing the till off and I'm going to deposit this into bank all at once. But I still need to specify that what happened here. It was a sales amount of 8,700. So which column do I put it into? Sales, debtors control, or sundry? It's going into sales. Now I told you that these two are chommies. You cannot have sales without cost of sales. So you need to figure out though how do you calculate cost of sales. So when we've done, if you've watched any of the debtors journal video that I did a little while ago, there is a formula, BP, which is the same, cost price, and this is SP. So cost price equals to selling price times. Now the way I remember it is this one is always going to be the smaller amount. You're always going to, what it costs you is always going to be less than what you sell it for, because you want to make a profit. Okay, so your cost price equals to your selling price times, so you're going to put the smaller amount on top, because the smaller one's first, over the bigger number, which is 100 plus your markup. So your whatever your markup would be, would make the amount bigger than the one at the top. Your sales is literally the other way around. So it's selling price equals to cost price times, because your selling price is bigger, the bigger one on top, over 100. So if you were given the cost of sales amount, then you would be able to work out the sales amount. Remember, the sales amount is what's going into the bank. So we as customers pay the selling price for an item. So 8700 times, usual brackets, 100 over 100 plus, and your markup that I spoke to you about earlier is 40%. Do not enter the percentage sign in, you're just entering in 40. That's all you need to do. So I'm going to round it off to I'm going to round it off to the nearest rand actually to make it easier. So 6214. 6214. Just be careful what your question paper says. If it asks for 1 decimal place or 2 decimal places, then just be aware of that. Okay, so that's going into your cost of sales. Remember, your sales is always going to be bigger than your cost of sales. So just make sure that if you're entering an amount in, it must be less than your sales. Otherwise, you've made a mistake. The next one is on the 9th. You had a cash sales of merchandise, 3,200. Because it's a cash sale, we can say that it's a CRR. It's for sales. And can I put it into analysis of receipts? Yes, because it's a CRR. It's not a bank statement. Can I put it into bank? Yes, because it's the only transaction on that day. And then does it go to sales, debtors control, or sundry? Into sales, because it's a sale. Okay. Again, I need to work out cost of sales. So I'm taking my 3,200 and I'm timesing it by 100 over 100 plus 40. That's going to give me 2286. I'm just going to round it up. So 2286. Second last one for the CRJ. El Cedras paid 1,500 Rand towards his account, paid by EFT. So EFT is going to be a BS. Date is the 27th. The name of the person that paid was El Cedras. And because it's a BS, I can't put it in the till, so it has to go straight into bank. And it wasn't for a sale, it was for his account. He paid for his account. So here we're looking at debtors control. The debtor has now paid for their account. So the business has received money, and it was 1,500. Next we look at received 4,100 Rand for merchandise sold for cash. So cash again will tell me that it's a CRR, cash register roll. It's for the 28th. And if you're selling trading stock or selling merchandise, it is known as a sale still. Because trading stock or merchandise would be anything that you could find in a shop that people are actually going to that shop to purchase. So that 4,100 is going to go into analysis of receipts because it's cash, into bank because it's the only transaction on that day, and into sales because it is for a sale. And then if I've entered in a sale amount, I need to work out my cost of sales. And that's 2929 if I round up. Okay, so that's all the CRJs for now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add up all the columns. The only column that you do not ever add up is analysis of receipts. So please don't do that. There are instances where marks will be deducted. Okay, so do not add up analysis of receipts. You add up everything else. So sundry is going to be 19,600. Debtors control. Super difficult to add up. 6214 plus 2286 plus 2929. Checking, okay, is 11429. Your sales amount is 16,000. And your bank amount finally is 37,100. So now I always have to check my answer to make sure. And there were multiple things that the business made money from. One of them was sales, one of them was debtors control, and one of them was, or the last two was capital and rent, so that your sundry amount. A business doesn't make money from cost of sales, because if I think about like this highlighter, if this highlighter costs me 3 Rand to make, and I sell it for 10 Rand, my sales price is 10 Rand, that's what's going into my bank account. I don't make the 3 Rand and the 10 Rand, the 3 Rand's hidden in the highlighter. So it's included in here. So this cost of sales is technically included in your sales amount. So to check your answer, it's always good to take your sales amount, your debtors control, and your sundry total, and see, does it equal up to your bank? And it does. Then I know I haven't made a mistake, so we A4 away. Okay, next one we're looking at is CPJ. Let me just have a sip of water here. Okay, cash payments journal. And we have the columns that we need: bank, trading stock, stationery, wages, creditors control, and sundry. Now, creditors control is when the business pays their account with another business. So just like over here, where the debtor pays for their account, so they pay the business. In this instance, the business is paying for their account with another business. The safest option when in doubt is to use a bank statement BS most of the time. It might sometimes be a receipt, but a lot of the time it will be a bank statement. The amount will always go into bank. It doesn't matter if there's 1 or 2 or 3 or 50 transactions on that day, you'll put it straight into bank. So let's enter it in as we go. You paid NMB Council for, let me just fold this in half so I can actually show you better. There we go. So we paid NMB Council for water and electricity, 3,100 Rand via EFT. So EFT tells me it's a BS for the first. Who did we pay? NMB Council. Always into bank, and it was for water and electricity. So there's no column for water and electricity, so I have to put it into sundry, 310 for water and electricity. Next one, you bought materials from glass suppliers for 9,700 Rand, less 10% trade discount. So we're not entering in the 9,700, we are entering in the amount with the 10% discount. So it is an EFT, so it's going to be BS for the second, glass suppliers. And it's going to always go into bank 8730. Now, trading stock and materials is not the same thing. Materials is actually an account on its own. So that 8,730 Rand is going to go over here for materials. Trading stock is stock that you would buy to then sell to your customers. Okay, next one. You drew cash to pay for wages, 4,600 Rand. So if you don't draw cash, you draw cash from an ATM or in a bank. So where you could see that would be on a bank statement. The date again is the second, so I don't have to write it again. Who did you pay? Okay, so I know in the past we used to talk about checks, and you cashed a check to pay for wages. Then this would be CC, which is a check counterfoil. We don't do that anymore, and you would write cash here. But because it's a BS, a bank statement, we can be now specific that who did we pay? We paid our employees. Alright, and that amount always goes into bank, and then it goes into the wages column. CPJ is a nice one. Okay, on the 8th, you paid glass suppliers in settlement of account to date via EFT, which means that they owed money to glass suppliers. We need to figure out how much that was. and then we need to enter it in. So I know for now that it's a BS, the 8th glass suppliers. Okay. If I look earlier up over here, we see that we purchased from glass suppliers on account at some stage in previous months, and so we owe them 1,300 Rand. There is no other time where we have bought on account from them or paid for our account. The only time is here we purchased, but that was via EFT, so we paid straight cash for it. That wouldn't affect our account at all. And so the amount that I owe, or Sunshine Glass Traders owes, is 1,300 Rand. So what they're saying is that if they settle the account, it means that they owe nothing. So they would have paid 1,300 Rand to settle that account. As I say, this is not included because this was a cash payment. It made no difference to the account that they had with glass suppliers. Okay, so that 1,300 Rand is going to go into bank, and now it goes into creditors control. Alright. Last two for CPJ. The owner paid Melba Garage for repairs to his own vehicle, 380 Rand via EFT. So it's going to be a bank statement. The 10th, Melba. Where's my spelling? Melba Garage, 380 into bank, always. And if it's for repairs to his own vehicle, it's going to go into sundry. And it's not repairs, because it's not repairs of the business's vehicle, it's his own vehicle. So, as we said, it is drawings. So if you ever see the owner took money for his own personal use, or the owner took money for his child's birthday party, or whatever it might be, whenever the owner takes something out, it's known as drawings. When they put something into the business, they call it capital. Okay. You paid F. De Beer manager his salary for November, 7,100 Rand via EFT. Again, BS. 27th. F. De Beer, and we paid his salary, so 7,100 goes into bank. Salary and wages is not the same. Wages get paid weekly, salaries are monthly, so we're going to put it into sundry. Please don't put it into the wages column. And it's for salary. Alright, you'll see that there's no amounts for trading stock and stationery. I didn't want to make the activity like too long, so just keep that in mind. Here we can enter in or add up everything. There's no funny business here. That's why I like CPJ. It's uncomplicated. Okay, so we can add up all our columns, dark line at the top and the bottom to show the total, and we can add a 310, 8730, 380, and 7100. So the total here is 16520. Creditors control is straightforward. So is wages. There's nothing for stationery or trading stock. So let's add up your bank total. 380 and 7100. So the bank total 22420. Now, just to be sure that I haven't made a mistake, I can add up everything on the right of bank. So if there was anything in trading stock or stationery, and then wages, creditors control, and sundry. And it should equal up to my bank because I paid for wages, I paid for the account, we paid for water and electricity, we paid for materials, we paid for drawings, and we paid someone's salary. Yebo. So it works out perfectly. It's a nice feeling when that happens. So your bank equals up to all of your other accounts combined. Okay, so that's the CRJ CPJ. Ooh, deep breaths. Next one is a debtors journal. Now, if you look at the difference between a CRJ and a DJ does not have a bank column. Reason being is because there is nothing that is affecting, or it's not affecting your bank. So your debtors control is when, remember, a customer buys an account, which means they walk into the business, they choose something they like, they put it on their account, they leave with the item and don't pay for it. They'll pay at a later stage. So for now we only have a sales and a cost of sales column. So we're going to enter those in. I think there are only 3. You sold goods on account to El Cedras of 2,000. So you're going to need to know that it is an invoice. Okay. And if they haven't given you a number, in the DJ, you can number it as 01. Otherwise, your teacher might accept it as just invoice. That's fine. Day is the 7th. And the details is El Cedras. I think my pen is running out here. It's getting exhausted. Okay. The sales amount, so goods sold on account to El Cedras was 2,000. So the sales amount is 2,000 Rand. Again, we're going to use the formula. Cost price equals to selling price times 100 over 100 plus your 40% markup. So 2,000 times 100 over 100 plus 40. And round it off, it is 1429. Next one, you sold goods on credit to J. K, 1,320 Rand. This would be invoice number 2, the 14th J. K, 1320. So that 1320 times by 100 over 100 plus 40 gives me 943. And lastly, you sold goods on credit to F. Brown for 300. So invoice number 3 for the 28th F. Brown 300. Again, we're going to calculate 300 times 100 over 100 plus 40. And there we get 214. Alright, because these people, there are lots of different people that are all buying from one business, Sunshine Glass Traders, we can use the invoice number 01 and then 02 and 03. So just keep that in mind when we do the CJ. I'll show you how it's different. Okay, like with everything, dark line at the top and at the bottom to show your totals. So 1429 plus 943 plus 214 is 2586. And your sales amount is 3620. Okay, so that's the debtors journal. Then we're on to the last one, which is our creditors journal. This is when the business buys on account from another business. So it's very, very similar to the CPJ if you have a look at it. The only difference is that there's again no bank column. The bank column has been replaced with creditors control. Because when you pay for something, like you're paying for trading stock stationery in the CPJ, it affects your bank. But when you're buying something on account, like trading stock equipment, it's affecting your creditors control. So basically the account that shows how much the business owes to other businesses. Okay, let's look at the first one. You receive merchandise on credit from Ace Wholesalers, goods invoiced at 8,000. Okay, so if it's going to be a CJ, usually we'd actually should give you an invoice number because it's going to be a random number depending on when you went to go visit Ace Wholesalers to buy something. So for now, I'm just going to put it as INV. So if it says the INV A70, you'd put in INV A70. So the second, helps if you can see. Let's do the folding trick again. Ace Wholesalers. It's always, just like with bank, it's always going to go into creditors control. And then they purchase merchandise, which is the same thing as trading stock. Okay. Purchase stationery on account from Paper & Co. 215. So it's an invoice. So you need to know it's an invoice if it's a DJ or a CJ. Still the second, so I'm not going to write the date again. Paper and Co. 215 into creditors control. There is no stationary equipment here, so I'm going to put it in over here for stationary. Remember, stationary is an expense. You spell stationary with an E, like you do with a pen, P-E-N, pencil. So it's E, it's an expense. So many times people think it's an asset. Next pink one, bought a computer on credit from Ace Wholesalers for 8,528 Rand. So it's an invoice number 5 from Ace Wholesalers of 8528, and that is therefore going to increase your equipment. In other words, you have bought more equipment, because computer is considered equipment as not an account on its own. Okay. You receive trading stock bought on credit to the value of 3,510 Rand from Majesty Limited. It's invoice number 7 from Majesty Limited. Goes into creditors control always, and they bought trading stock. That goes in the trading stock column. Last one. You bought 564 Rands worth of consumables from Adam's warehouse on account. That's again invoice 28 from Adam's warehouse. And 564 Rand goes always into creditors control. And consumables, 564, things that you would use up in your business, like cleaning detergents and things like that to clean your business. Handy Andy dishwashing liquid. So that 564 Rand for consumables. Sometimes they call it consumable stores. Just read the question, it depends. Both would be acceptable. Okay, then to finally end it all off, totals need to be written in between the two dark lines. So we just add up everything again. So the only thing that you don't ever add up is CRJ, analysis of receipts. 215 plus 564 is 779. Equipment is 8528. Let's see here. I don't even know why I actually added that up. There's literally one amount. 8,000 and 3,510. 11510. And then creditors control. 8,000, 215, 8528, 3510, 564. 20817. So now if I'm skeptical at the amount, let's just check. 11510 plus 8528 plus 779. Okay, 20817, so it is perfect. I feel like I need to take a deep breath now after all of that. Okay, so we have done, I feel like we need a drum roll or something. We have done the CRJ, the business receives money. CPJ, the business pays money, either in cash or EFT, but the payment is made now. Then we've done a debtors journal and a creditors journal. Debtors journal, the customer buys an account from the business. Creditors journal is when our business, Sunshine Glass Traders, buys from another business on account. So these were the businesses they purchased from on account. So this amount over here tells me this is what they owe other businesses. And that's how much basically debt, I suppose you can call it, or liability they have racked up. Whereas over here, this one in orange, this is the amount of money that their customers owe them. So it's good to obviously have a look at these. Debtors control, or your amount from sales, this is seen as an asset. And your creditors control is seen as a liability. I'll actually show you how that all of that is entered in eventually at the So this amount is how much your debtors owe you as a business, so owe Sunshine Glass Traders. And then I will show you how to enter all of these totals into a general ledger. Just a bit of advice when doing accounting, I know it can be like really daunting. Try and imagine yourself in the perspective of the business. Imagine you own Sunshine Glass Traders and then read the questions carefully. I just find sometimes that helps. If you own that business and this is what's happening, then it might be easier for you to identify where it belongs to. But yeah, thank you so much for coming. I hope you are able to understand the chaos of accounting. I love it. I hope you do too. And keep an eye out for any more videos that are being uploaded. I really hope this helped you. And yeah, I really would appreciate if you subscribe and hit the like button on this video. And have a good day. Good luck for your exams.